Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Virgo for January 2017. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, see what's new on my blogs, and if you're interested in learning astrology and you resonate with how I teach, then you may want to participate in my astrology apprenticeship program. So check that out on my website along with my other offerings. So what's going on in this new month, in this new year? Happy New Year. You know, it's always funny to me to start out a new year in retrograde because there's so much emphasis put on everything new. But yet, if we're right in the middle of a Mercury retrograde, as we are this year when we start the year, it sort of has an energy of sleepiness, of things needing a little bit more time to push forward. So if you're feeling that and you're not quite getting in gear, then I'm letting you know this so that you can be easy on yourself and know that that is the nature of the energy right now. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't do your New Year's resolutions, that you can't try something new, that you can't clear the decks and make way for new energy. It just means it might be a little bit of a slow start. So what's specifically going on for Virgo? We have got a brewing potion of energy lighting up the fifth house, and this is going to be starting for the early Virgo placement. So if you have your birthday in like the first 10 days or so of the sign, and even really the first 10 to 15 days of the sign, you'll really be feeling this month, what I'm about to describe. The rest of you middle and late degree placements, what I'm about to describe is coming for you soon. Okay, so this warming up of the fifth house. The fifth house is a really fun house. It has to do with children and creative projects and hobbies and romance, and it's also called the house of true love. Fun things that bring you pleasure. Music, athleticism, things that like really deep talents that you have, even acting. This is the house of the thespian. So this energy is ruled by the energy of Leo. Even though the planets themselves are not in the sign of Leo, the planets are in the fifth house for Virgos, which brings a Leo-like energy to this month or this period of time. And Leo is a fiery, radiant energy that's ruled by the sun. So it basically rules the energy of what you want. It rules the energy of your deep desires. So anything having to do with all of those things I just listed can be coming up for you. Things involving conception, pregnancy, childbirth, child rearing, working with children, birthing creative projects that aren't humans, anything like that. It's just a time for more fun. I love affirmations. I have been using affirmations since the beginning of my spiritual journey, and I love writing them. And so this month I have written affirmations for the placements where I see gatherings of energy. So for the early degree placements, I'm calling this the general energy attracting joy. And like I said, this is coming for all of you. But the affirmation that I wrote is, I am an irresistible magnet for romance, joy, and prolific creative expression. You can see this affirmation and a growing list of affirmations on my Instagram account, where you can see a pretty version of it. So if you want to work with it over the month and have a visual for it, that's part of why I'm doing that. So whatever you can do to focus on joy and attract in joy and attract in the things that you want, that is what's up for this period of time. Now, the rest of the middle degree placements and the late degree placements, and also a reminder about these divisions of early, middle, and late. If you're watching for your rising sign, this pertains to you too, because if you're 0 to 9 degrees, you're an early degree Virgo placement. If you're ascendant or moon or whatever you're watching for is from 10 to 19 degrees, you're a middle degree placement, and from 20 to 29, you're a late degree placement. So the charts look a little bit different for the different sectors. So for the rest of you not in the early division, you still have a strong energy in your fourth house. The fourth house is the house of home and coziness and warmth and emotional connections, nostalgia, things from the past, things that make you feel comfort, In some cases, things that make you feel very uncomfortable, you know, because there are things in the past that can be brought up that emotionally can trigger things. So I'm calling the energy of this like a rekindling of connections. You know, it's kind of like a coming back of the energies having to do with home and family, and this pertains to real estate as well. So the affirmation I wrote for these placements is, I see and feel into creation, being surrounded by deep comfort and love. So that's the energy that we're working with. You know, it's like this cozy, warm, you know, I'm picturing it being cold out. I'm picturing, you know, a glass of cocoa or tea by the fire, kind of like cozy blanket, you know. That's the energy that we want. Or well, whether we want it or not, that's the kind of energy that's coming in. It's like, it's an emotional security focus, you know. Whenever the sun moves through an area, it brings warmth and vibrance and focus. So there are positive ends of the spectrum of the potentials, and there are also challenging potentials, you know, even as what we were talking about with the fifth house, with the children and the creativity and all that. When you have the sun moving through these houses, it's like a spotlight on that situation. And sometimes the spotlight brings warmth and vibrance, but sometimes the spotlight points out things that need to be adjusted or corrected or made better, you know? So it's just bringing a focus, it's bringing this right into your forefront of experience. So these are some of the shorter term placements. When we track the personal planets moving through the chart, the ones that are closest to us move quicker, and so they change for, you know, over a number of weeks. But there are other placements that take a little bit longer to push through, these outer planets. So for the early degree Virgo placements, you have a strong focus with Chiron, which is an asteroid, it's the wounded healer. You have the transiting South Node, you have transiting Neptune, locked in this energetic focus on your partnerships and your relationships. So there's this very long-term spiritualizing of how you relate to people. And in many cases, that is also involving a lot of karma. Lots and lots of karma, things coming up like, oh gosh, I thought that all this was over with, you know. A lot of karmic cleansing going on, and ancestral clearing, and, you know, things having to do with how the past is affecting the present. And the more you can clear up the energy from the past, the more you can change the nature of your relationships in the present. So this same type of karmic woundedness energy that we're talking about for the early degree placements with this focus on relationships, for the middle and later degree placements, this is still really focused in your sixth house. And the sixth house has to do with your health. So many people with these placements are going through this deep karmic cycle with physical pain and physical ailments. So that's continuing to be like this long-term thing. So if you are in this situation, I do know how frustrating it can be to be working with health issues over a long period of time. But my advice to you is to not give up, is to just be really persistent with continuing to look at every facet of what could be making you sick. And the more that you do that, and the more spiritual you have your approach, the more you'll have insights that will be sort of unearthed from the depths. So these are the things that are on my mind specifically for Virgo. We're standing on the edge of this abyss of retrogrades, which is what I'm calling the general energy for January. So I want to go more into what the great dates are in January, what the challenging dates are, if you have to slip some new things through in the midst of the retrograde energies, when it's good to do that, and all of those kind of things, how you maximize the general transits. I want to get into more of that now. So I'm calling the month of January 2017. The theme for all signs is the edge of the abyss. We start out the month in the middle of the first of a series of personal planets being retrograde. Personal planets are the ones that are closest to us. So really the ones that are relevant here are Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Whenever one of those planets appears as if it's going backwards in the sky, of course they never really do go backwards in their orbit,
But from our position on the earth, if you were watching it in the sky, it would look like it was going backwards. That period of time, called a retrograde, lends itself into going backwards and going in deep. Some people have made the mistake of thinking you can't do anything during a retrograde cycle. That is totally not true, and I'm going to go into more details about that. But basically, this energy of being on the edge of the abyss in this Mercury retrograde that is welcoming us as we start this new year. Then on January 8th, Mercury goes direct, and then at the end of January, the shadow period for Venus retrograde starts. Venus rules love and beauty and money. So the energies ruling, or the energies regarding those topics all tend to go backwards. But there's also a shadow period before the actual retrograde. So even though Venus is not retrograde until March 4th, and that's through April 15th, at the end of January, it's already warming up. You know, it's kind of like when you're on your way somewhere, maybe you're at a place not in the forest, okay, and you're driving and there are no trees around, then all of a sudden you start seeing a couple of trees here and there, and you know that when you go deeper, you're going to be covered with trees on both sides of the road, you know, but it's kind of like the trees are starting to show up, and you're getting that vibe of going into the woods. And that's what the retrograde is like, and that's what the shadow periods are like. So just as Mercury starts to be clear of its shadow period, Venus's shadow period starts. And then we get into full-on Venus retrograde. And then just as Venus goes direct in the middle of April, we start the shadow period for the next Mercury retrograde. And then it's not till May 19th that Venus is completely clear of its retrograde cycle. And it's not till May 21st that Mercury is completely clear of its retrograde cycle. So you can see why I call this time in January the edge of the abyss, and why, if you've listened to my horoscopes for a while, you can see why I was pushing you to push as many things forward into the world in the launch period, November through like December 3rd or so, because these energies want to go back and they want to go in. An analogy that I've been thinking of that really reminds me of the energy of what we're standing before. As I was stating earlier, it's a huge mistake to think you can't do anything in a retrograde. There is so much to do, there's plenty to do, and there are some things that it's actually good to do those things. You can get some specifics on Mercury retrograde by watching my video for that transit. You can also watch my video for Venus retrograde to get more details about specifics for that transit. I'll give some general retrograde energies here. But it's like if you want to clean out your kitchen, right? Maybe it's not too messy when you get in there, but when you start taking stuff out of the cabinets and spreading all the clean surfaces with the stuff from the cabinets in order to get everything out, throw stuff away, wipe the surfaces inside the cabinets, you create a righteous mess, right? In order to meet the objective, which is to have a truly clean kitchen that feels really good, getting rid of stagnant energy, clearing out things you don't need, making room for new. So although we're not starting this new year in an energy with a lot of newness coming in, we definitely have a major opportunity to go in deep and clear those things out. So I know for myself, I'm going to be very busy during these retrograde cycles, and I'm going to take everything in my house and all of my things out and clear them out, and by the time the energies go direct, I won't have complained because I didn't have any shortage of things to do during this retrograde cycle. It's just the new things, the launches. If there's something you've been doing all along, like for instance, I teach Creating Successful Online Business course, and I teach an Astrology apprenticeship program. I've been teaching these for a while. So you'll see my launches come out in the midst of these retrograde energies, but they're not new, and they're short-term programs. That's another thing to know about these new, the warnings to not do new things during the retrogrades. That's really a warning to not do long-term things. If you want to try something on or do a trial period or do something for a short amount of time that's not intended to have longevity, it's perfect. It's fine. You can play, you can experiment, etc. And it's a wonderful time to do that. You can have different experiences, and it's like a no commitment type of thing. If you go in thinking I'm going to be doing this for a certain number of years and it's going to be exactly how we're talking about right now, it's just not going to be that way. You know, it's going to change and evolve, and that's the nature of the retrogrades. So, just keep that keynote of being on the edge of the abyss, keeping the understandings that things might have to get a little messier in your life before they can become clearer, but that this is really what's needed. You know, it's really what's needed to get you closer to the things that you want to do, the experiences that you want to have. So, another good point about this retrograde cycle is to try to get your taxes done early. If you can submit them, like at the end of, I know you have to wait for some tax documents at the end of January, but as soon into February as possible, have all your ducks in a row, it's going to be much easier for you because April 15th is the tax day that everything is due, but that's the end of Venus retrograde, and money things are going to be, you know, affected by this. So you might want to try to get that done. Something else really great about retrogrades is that when you are taking everything out to look at it again, you often find a lot of gems, things that you totally forgot about. If you're a writer, maybe if you're clearing out old files, you find some things that could be usable for a current project, or that you feel inspired to go back and start getting into again. This happens all the time. Either something that you find or something comes back to you through someone else mentioning it, or you know, something floats in your field in some way from the past, then you get back on it and you bring it to a different level. You know, it's like something coming back from the past that you work on. But you often will find a lot of gems, you know, so contacting people from the past, going through things from the past, clearing out stuff is one of the best things you can do during retrogrades. And then you'll be in a much better position for launching when the stars are great again, which is like May 21st is really, you know, there might be a couple of dates before then that could work, but that's the day that the Venus retrograde, the Mercury retrograde is clear. So you've got from May 21st through July 25th, free of personal planet retrogrades. And as we get closer to those days, I'll give you, you know, challenging dates and good dates around in that time period. But I just want to give you an overview for the year so you have a snapshot of what we're looking at. Then we have another retrograde cycle between July 26th and October 6th, and then we're clear again from October 7th through November 5th. So essentially you've got 2 good launching periods this year. And then you might want to take advantage of that and line things up that way. So let's see, I want to give you the good dates. I say good dates. These are dates that have sweet aspects that are occurring. And note that some of the dates I give you that could carry sweetness are also some of the same dates that could bring challenges or drama. Because on some days we have certain really good aspects and certain challenging aspects at the same time. I'm going to give you the dates, but note that sometimes we feel the energy of a transit before or after the day it actually occurs. So sometimes the exact date isn't as relevant as the time period. I'm not going to list all of why these dates carry sweetness or challenges. You can see more details about that when you sign up for my free email newsletter, which is on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. I do a write-up for the month before that gives the theme of the month, themes, keynotes, sweet days, challenging days, as well as the actual aspects that make those sweet or challenging, with a little bit of explanation as to why and what's happening there. So you can get that for free on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Okay, so you might find sweetness on or around January 3rd, January 6th and 7th, January 20th, 23rd, 28th, and 29th. But a big star around January 29th January 28th, because this is the Chinese New Year and the new moon in Aquarius. So if you have to push something through that you could not push through in my suggested time frame that ran until December 3rd, then this might be a date that could work for you, because it's dancing right between some challenging aspects, but it has a lot of good energy for forward momentum. So if you have to push something through or do a follow-up for something that you had already started, that could be a date that you could slip in. Really, the end of January and the beginning of February, if you have anything that you're going to have to push through that you didn't do in the window through the beginning of December, that's going to be your best time, because you're only going to get deeper into the Venus retrograde as you get deeper into February. So it's going to be pretty retrograde-y until May after that. But it will still have effects because it's right in the middle of all this, but it's your best bet if you have to do something. So the dates to have extra care or where there might be challenges or drama are January 5th through 12th, the 19th, the 27th through the 29th, and the 31st. Okay, so definitely check out my blogs, my new moon, making powerful wishes for each of the new moons on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. You can also check out my courses, my coach certification course, my creating successful online business course, and my astrology apprenticeship program. My astrology apprenticeship program and my creating successful online business courses will be re-enrolling. They have been closed for enrollment. They will be re-enrolling in January. So you can check that out, and maybe you'll want to join me to do these professional certification courses. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I will see you next month. Bye.